Hello everybody, I am the Dire Duck. Ever since Murder Drones has ended, I have seen many people going about a season 2, demanding it from Glitch, sometimes quite forcefully, while others have tried to make their own versions of season 2, while others still have pondered what it would even look like, and what everyone would want to see from it. Now, before we go any further, let's just get one thing straight. An official Murder Drones season 2 is currently highly unlikely. Glitch has the amazing digital circus and soon to be the Gaslight District to complete, not even to mention the Knights of Guinevere. So even if Glitch and Liam wanted to make a Murder Drones season 2, we wouldn't see it for like 3 years at least. That is assuming Liam wants to make another season, which considering everything that's happened, I highly doubt. Though, considering the fact that I have seen the topic of conversation be discussed all over the Murder Drones community, now that the show has ended, I think it's about time I throw my hat into this increasingly insane ring and give my take on the whole thing. But before we begin, remember to behead that like button and fire a railgun at the subscribe button, as each one might make Liam create something new, hopefully. So, firstly, let's remind ourselves how the show actually ended. So, Uzi had just beaten the tar out of Sin, eating her core, with Sin now taking possession of Uzi's tail.
You look great. Have you considered a bow, though?
Doll is also inside of Uzi, being basically confirmed at this point. Sin ate Doll's core, and then Uzi ate her core. It's a vicious cycle, you see. So, after the final battle and everyone hugs it out, Uzi gives her a big presentation right at the end, calling back to the beginning of the series, with everyone being present there, before they all live happily ever after. Well, I say that, there is a small issue of Sin teasing Uzi from her tail, but considering everything that's happened during the series, that is a rather minor inconvenience, isn't it? Well, despite the show leaving loads of unresolved plot points and others being just well rushed, the show is able to give us a fairly conclusive happy ending. No one died apart from Doll or Sin. Well, no one really mattered anyway, and Sin even came back, so you know. Hell, even Jay and Nori are still kicking at the end of it. Though, that does at least give us more character to play with for a hypothetical season 2. Speaking of which, what would a season 2 even look like? Where would they go from this point in the story? Well, let me give you some options. The first and simplest possibility is to just keep the happy bright tone that we left off with at the end of the series, and simply do a nice slice of life style show, exploring the lives of each of our main characters post episode 8. We could maybe even expand on some of the slides we saw during the credits. After all, I think the personalities of the cast are strong enough to carry a show like this, as we've seen many other fan comics already take this kind of approach, so we know the formula works. However, there is a glaring issue with this idea, and it is the fact that it simply would not be Murder Drones if you went down this route. Murder Drones does thrive off that horror and creepy factor, even if it often conflicts with its more humorous side.
Made the tag when I was 8, shut up.
The fact of the matter is that this feature is part of the show's core DNA, you can't just get rid of it, and simply put, it wouldn't be what most fans would want to see. So, let's be a bit more creative here. One thing that every potential season 2 needs is a good antagonist for the story. Someone or something that can really threaten our cast. But when looking at the list, the choices are very slim at the moment. We of course have Jay, being the only remaining antagonist from the series left standing, which, let's be real, as great as she is, she can't really step up and fill the role as the main antagonist without a serious power boost, as she can't even confidently beat N or V, let alone both of them, and a fully powered up Solver Uzi. Therefore, we have basically no current options that could directly threaten the main cast. We do have Sin, but the show did firmly demonstrate that Uzi is now in full control of her Solver powers, therefore, Sin will be unable to take over Uzi without going back on that plot decision. So, while I'm sure Sin and Jay can still be a nuisance to our main cast, we need something more, and therefore, we need to think outside of the box on this one. So, first up, we could go down the Doll route, as while the show did make it clear that Sin can no longer influence Uzi, they said nothing about Doll. Therefore, we could have Doll start trying to take over Uzi and replace her personality, giving Uzi that crazed split personality, a true Jekyll and Hyde type situation. We could then have people start showing up dead around the colony, with our cast first suspecting Jay, making her the main target, either killing or capturing her after a one-sided chase. However, they soon figure out that it can't possibly be Jay doing all these killings. At the same time, N and others close to Uzi start noticing changes in Uzi's behaviour. She starts acting out of character, she seems tired all the time, and forgets things. Again, our cast will initially blame Sin for all this trouble. Of course, Sin would deny it in a very Sin-like way, but none of our cast would believe them. Then, right before the eyes of our cast, Doll is able to take full control over Uzi, seemingly pushing out Uzi's personality for good, with Doll fully giving to resentment and hatred, as the things that killed her family are able to just live in the colony like nothing happened now. Along with the architect of all of this, Sin, who is able to keep on living without very much punishment. As such, Doll would seek revenge upon the whole cast, trying to kill them all. with the final act of the show revolve around the cast trying to defeat Dol and bring back Uzi. Now, while this idea does have some potential, there are a few major issues with it. The first being the fact that this is basically a retread of the first season, with Uzi trying to fight off the possession of a vengeful AI. Only this time around, we'll be lacking a lot of the surrounding mystery, dangers and other plot points. Speaking of which, the second issue with this direction is the fact that, well, there arguably isn't enough here to drive a full season on its own. Maybe as part of a season, but I just don't think you could really stretch this concept out across a whole season without it getting quite stale. Even if we include a bunch of other side plots, I just don't think this idea has enough going for it to really drive the season as its main core. So therefore, we'll have to look further afield. We could go down the route of having more disassembly drones show up. Like, we could have a new group of disassembly drones arrive on Copper 9 who are loyal to Sin, with them making it their mission to try and free Sin, one way or another. The season could focus on this group of DD going to war with our main cast, pulling out all the stops to attempt to free Sin from Uzi, and restore her as the absolute solver, with the final act of the show having them briefly succeed, with it ending with either them getting beaten, or if Liam wanted to return to his darker route, you could even have the DDs win. But then again, a group of random new characters defeating our established cast would likely leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. You could also have them team up with Jay to attempt to achieve their goal, but I have a feeling Jay would not be too down with supporting them. As for one, Jay will be wary about getting involved in any conflict with our main cast after the events of episode 8. There is also the fact that Jay only sided with the Solver because she thought she'd be on the winning team, as she herself has no real love for the Solver. Therefore, I doubt she'd be jumping at the chance to help Sin. Maybe she'd be a rogue element in this conflict. One issue with this direction is the fact that we'll be relying on the new DD feeling fresh and interesting. Though I think Liam will be capable of pulling that off. Though again, does it really have that wow factor that the original series had? What big mystery could we really have in this plot? What creepy moment could really be done without our cast being so powerful going into it? Either the DDs would need some insane abilities, or our core cast would have to be nerfed. Neither option is really feasible. So again, I think we could do better. So instead, we could go in a more radical direction, by bringing back into focus one of the show's most forgotten elements, the J.C. Jensen Corporation. From the seeming major off-screen force in the universe, to a mere misdirect, J.C. Jensen has had a very strange legacy in murder drones, so why don't we bring them back into focus? We could have Uzi's episode 1 presentation actually come true, with the company coming in to try and wipe out all the rogue AI on Copper 9, and most importantly, destroy the Solver at any costs. This will be a perfectly understandable motive for J.C. Jensen and wider humanity, or at least what's left of wider humanity, as rogue AI never ends well in media, and for the fact that, you know, the Solver destroyed Earth and most of humanity, I would imagine they would hold a grudge, and certainly not want to take any chances with Uzi. This new hypothetical season 2 is of course focusing on the conflict between the drones of Copper 9 and the J.C. Jensen remnants who will come to wipe them all out. You could also use the season to give more of our side characters time to shine, as they would be a lot less individually outgunned, and let's be real, characters like Khan and Fad would have far more of a chance at being useful and relevant when going up against whatever the company would be able to throw at them, over the ungodly powers of the Solver. There is a lot you could do with this idea, and you would certainly have enough material to make a season from it. Throw in a couple of side plots and you would have a complete season 2. But again, this idea runs into a few issues. Like, can the company really measure up to the biomechanical eldritch horror that was the Solver? I mean, you could try I suppose, if you make J.C. Jensen really messed up and desperate. But frankly, I do not think they have a chance at really measuring up. As, while certainly rushed, Uzi had completed her hero journey, and the stakes couldn't really get much higher than they were with Sin. And you must remember, all the cast demons have already been conquered, so there isn't really much to play off of from them, unless you invent new problems. While Liam and Glitch could certainly do that, would it really feel natural? Would it really feel like murder drones at that point? With that in mind, do we really even need to follow directly from the end of episode 8? Why not have a completely new story with a new cast, maybe on a different world in the same universe with their own struggles? Maybe against the Solver again, maybe against the company, or maybe against something entirely different. This would open up a whole host of possibilities and allow the show to go in a completely new direction. However, Murder Drones at the end of the day is based heavily around our main cast. While fan AUs can easily adopt this concept, as many have already been doing, do we really think that we'd be totally happy with a Murder in Season 2 without Sin, without Uzi, without N? Maybe without one or two of them, but all of them? Again, would it really be Murder Drones at that point? Or would it just be another show set in the MD universe? Well, of course there is a lot you could do with the MD setting, I just don't think it would meet the expectations we would have set for Liam and Glitch. So what if, instead, we try to go down the route of a prequel? Maybe instead of a traditional season 2, we could instead have more of a spin-off series, maybe focusing in on the Elliot Manor with Tessa, with us then getting to see more of who these people were before the events of the massacre. We will get to see that slow, creeping dread build up, as Sin starts putting all the pieces of her plan into place, as the corruption in the manor gets worse, as Sin herself becomes more and more, well, Sin-like, with the final episode ending on the night of the gala, with us finally getting to see what actually happened on that fateful night, without the intervention of Crozy. This will allow us to keep that murder drone tone without it feeling tacked on or completely unneeded, as I'm sure many fans would love to see our cast in this situation. After all, many AUs, comics and fan series have already proven this to be true. Out of all the options that have been discussed today, I think this is the idea that Liam himself would have the most interest in actually creating, as it ticks all the boxes on what Liam likes to make, while not being a completely samey creation. But as I'm sure you realise by now, every option that's been discussed has at least one major weakness to it, as at the end of the day, Liam had clearly decided to end the show at episode 8, come what may. So while we did get that final hurrah for the show, Liam clearly just wanted to give it an ending and move on. As, let's be honest, with how episode 8 ended, where could you really go from here? If you really wanted a season 2, then massive changes would have to be made to the plot of the show as far back as episode 4 to make a season 2 realistically possible. And Glitch and Liam can't just go and declare half the show non-canon in order to make that possible. So maybe it is for the best that the show ended when it did. While it certainly could have done a lot of things better, we do have to remember that neither Glitch nor Liam had ever done this before, and when you factor that in, along with everything else being considered, it turned out pretty well in the end. I think Murder Season 2 will be delivered to us in the form of all the fan projects like Insecurity and Strays, who will carry MD's torch into the future alongside all the other fan projects. As, let's be perfectly honest, no matter what Liam or Glitch do with MD, it will never be able to live up to our expectations, or capture that same magic that the show once did. And at the end of the day, I think they know that. But I know that despite this, many people have had a crack at making a season 2 plot, so maybe I will do a little review of each of them. Would you all want to see that? Let me know in the comments below. Speaking of which, we have come to the end of the video. So, what did you think of my ideas? Do you think any of them could work under the right circumstances? Or do you think MD is better left alone? Or maybe in the hands of the fans? Let me know in the comments section below. Anyway, that'll be all from me. Remember to like and subscribe and do all the other stuff that every other YouTuber tells you to do. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, check out my other videos, some of which are even good. Maybe. Either way, I hope to see you all again very soon. Bye bye.